Okay, so in this video I'm going to have a look at solving simultaneous equations, and these simultaneous equations will have two unknowns, x and y. So I'm going to do two examples, one fairly straightforward one and one a little bit more detailed. So let's have a look at the first one. The first one is going to involve a 4x plus y, and that's going to be equal to 3, and the other one is 2x plus y, and that's going to be equal to 1. Now these two equations here really are just equations of two lines, and you know, if you were to plot those, you will end up with two lines. I'm not sure exactly what they look like, but you'll end up with two straight lines, and they will intersect at a particular point. And what we're going to do is find the value of x and the value of y for that particular point there, the x coordinate and the y coordinate of this particular point of intersection. So the lines may not look exactly like this. This is just a rough sketch, but we're going to find out what this value here is and what this value here is. In other words, whatever value for x we get, we can put in here and here. Whatever value of y we get, we can put in here and here. If we work out the left-hand side for this equation, we'll get 3. If we work out the left-hand side for this equation, we'll get 1. So the x and y will work for both equations. So let's just look at doing that. So what do we need to do? First thing I'm going to do is just mark each, or just identify each equation as equation 1 and equation 2. Now, what we need to do when we do this is look at eliminating the x's here or the y's. So you pick either the x's or the y's and you eliminate them. You decide which one you want to eliminate. And what you're going to do is make another equation with only one unknown, either x or y, which you can solve easily enough. Because currently, you know, if you take this equation here, for example, 4x plus y is equal to 3, if you try and isolate the y here, you end up with 3 minus 4x. So you can't find out what x is here because you'll end up with something with an x in it. Similarly, if you try and isolate the x, you'll end up with something with y on the other side. So you can't actually solve for x when you want for x or y when you've only got one equation, but we have two equations here, so we're going to be able to do it. So what do we do? Okay, so I have a plus y here and a plus y here, so I'm going to try and eliminate these y's. How do I do that? Well, what do I need to do really is, I've got a plus and a plus here, so I'm going to try and change one of them to a minus. I've got a 1y and a 1y, which is exactly what I want. So really what I'm looking for here is the same number in front of the y, which I have already, but I need to change the signs, one to a plus, one to a minus. So that's what I'm going to do, and you'll see why in a few minutes. So I'm going to take equation number 1, and I'm going to multiply it by minus 1 to change the sign in front of the minus, or in front of the y here. I'm going to change it from a plus y into a minus y. So let's do that and see what happens. Now if I take equation 1 and multiply it by minus 1, I must multiply each term by minus 1. I don't want to change this equation. I just want to change the way it looks. So let's multiply 4x by minus 1. That will give me minus 4x. Multiply plus y by minus 1. That will give me minus y. Multiply 3 by minus 1. That will give me minus 3. Okay, so let's just write down equation 2. We won't do anything with equation 2. So we end up with 2x plus y is equal to 1. Now if you notice, I've taken equation 1 and multiplied it by minus 1, and I've ended up with minus 4x minus y is equal to minus 3. These two equations here are exactly the same. They look different, but they're the same equation. I haven't changed the equation. Now, why did I do that? Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just put a line under these two equations here, and I'm going to add both equations. I'm going to add the x's to the x's, the y's to the y's, and the numbers to the numbers. What will that give me? Okay, so I got a 2x minus 4x. That will give me minus 2x. Now you can see here why I changed the sign. If I add a plus y to a minus y, I will get 0. I won't put in, but it'll be a plus 0 here or a minus 0, whatever you like, but effectively there'll be a 0 here. So I leave it out. Now here I end up with minus 3 plus 1. That gives me minus 2. So look what I've ended up with here. I've ended up with another equation here. 2x, minus 2x rather, minus 2x is equal to minus 2. I've ended up with an equation here with one unknown, x. So I can simply solve that for x. So that will give me, I've got minus 2x times minus 2x is equal to minus 2. So I can divide the left hand side by minus 2 to give me x. I can divide the right hand side by minus 2. Minus 2 divided by minus 2 will give me 1. I now know what x is. X is equal to 1. Perfect. So how do I actually go about finding what y is? Well, I just pick one of these equations. It doesn't matter which one. I'll pick, let's say, equation 1 here. So I'm going to pick equation 1, which is 4x plus y is equal to 3. That's equation number 1. Now I now know what x is. I know that if I put in x as 1 here, I can now work out what y is. So 4 times, instead of 4 times x, I've got 4 times 1. So that's going to give me 4 plus y is equal to 3. So all I've got to do now is subtract 4 from both sides. So 4 minus 4 is 0. That leaves me with y on the left hand side. I must subtract 4 also from the right hand side. That gives me y is equal to minus 1. So I now know that if I plot my two lines here, the point of intersection, this point of intersection here, will have an x value of 1 and a y value of minus 1. That's the point of intersection. So my solution is just simply 1 minus 1. Okay, so that's our fairly straightforward example. I'm now going to do one that's a little bit more detailed. It just involves a few fractions. So let's just write that out first. So let's say we have, let's say 3x minus 2, and that will be divided by 4. And we've got minus y minus 3 over 2, and that's equal to minus a half. So we've got lots of fractions here. That's one equation. Another equation then is going to be 2x plus 4 over 3 plus y plus 1 over 4, and that's going to be equal to a quarter. So these are our two equations. I'll just separate them here. So this is one equation, this is another equation here. Now, I want to rearrange these. I want to get rid of these fractions because it's going to be awkward to do if I leave the fractions as they are. So what I'm going to do is get rid of this 4, 2, and 2 here, and then I'll work on this equation here. I'll get rid of this 3, 4, and 4. So how do I do that? Well, I'll just take the one on the left here first. I've got a 4, a 2, and a 2 as my denominators. Now the nearest, or the lowest rather, number that they will divide into is 4. So what I can do, in fact, is take the left-hand side, 3x minus 2 over 4, and all I'm going to do really is just multiply that by 4 over 1. I've got my minus y minus 3 over 2, and I'm also going to multiply this by 4 over 1. You must multiply each of these terms by exactly the same thing, otherwise you're changing the equation. So I got my minus half here. I'm going to multiply that by 4 over 1. You must multiply each term in the equation by the same number. Okay, so I've done that. So by multiplying each term by the same number, I haven't changed the equation. It's still the same equation. So let's see what happens when we do that. Well, here we've got a 4 divided by 4. So that will just, you'll just get 1. So here you just end up with 3x minus 2. And I can leave the bracket there if I like. It doesn't really matter at this stage. I've got this minus. And here I've got a 4 on the top, a 2 on the bottom. So that 2 will divide into that 4 there twice. So that will leave me here with 2 times y minus 3. On the right hand side, I have a 2 on the bottom. Well, actually, I'll just do the sign first. Here is this a plus 4 multiplied by a minus half. So my answer is going to be minus. So I'll just deal with the sign first. Now I'll do the numbers. I've got a 4 on the top, a 2 on the bottom. So that 2 will go into 2 once. This 2 will go into this 4 twice. 2 times 1 is just 2. So on the right hand side, I just end up with 2. So this is my equation on the left, all I've done is gotten rid of the fractions. I haven't actually changed the equation. So I'll just multiply this out. This becomes 3x minus 2. I've got minus 2y, and then minus times minus is plus. 2 times 3, 6. And then minus 2 on the right hand side. 3x minus 2y, I'll just write that down, 3x minus 2y. Then I've got a minus 2 plus 6, that gives me a plus 4. So what do I end up with here? Let's see. I'll just leave the x's, the x to 3, x minus 2y on the left hand side, and I'll subtract 4 from the left hand side, subtract 4 from the right hand side. That gives me minus 6 here. Okay, so this now is my equation. Similar to the first example, I have an equation here. I'll call this equation number 1. So I've just converted this equation here, it's a complicated looking equation with fractions and so on up here, to this equation here. They're both exactly the same equation, they just look different. Okay, I've multiplied the left hand side and the right hand side by the same number, 4, and simplified it, so I've got a nice simple looking equation here. Now I'm going to do exactly the same with the other equation here. So let's just do that. I'll just separate it out here and see what we end up with down here. So what have I got? I've got 2x plus 4 over 3. So I've got 2x plus 4 over 3. I've got, I'm going to multiply that by something. I've got a y plus 1 over 4. I'm going to multiply that by the same thing. And then on the right hand side I've got quarter. Okay, so if I look on the bottom here, I've got a 3, a 4, and a 4. So the lowest number that they will divide into is 12. Okay, so let's do that. I'm going to multiply all the terms by 12. I'm going to multiply each term by 12. So I'm going to multiply this by 12 over 1, 12 over 1, and 12 over 1. So let's see what that does for me. Well, I've got a 12 on the top and a 3 on the bottom, so 3 will divide into 3 once, 3 will divide into 12 4 times. So that will leave me with 4 times 2x plus 4. Okay, that's the first one. Second one then, I've got this 4 here, will divide into this 12 here 3 times. So this will leave me with plus 3 times y plus 1. Okay, on the right hand side then, I've got a 4 on the bottom here, that will divide into itself once, it will divide into 12 3 times. 3 times 1 is just 3, so on the right hand side I just simply end up with 3. Okay, so let's simplify that. 4 times 2x is 8x, 4 times plus 4 is plus 16, 3 times y, 3y, 3 times 1, 3, and then I end up with 3 here. Okay, here I'm just going to put the x and y's together again, so I got 8x plus 3y. I've got 16 plus 3, that will give me 19, and I end up with 3 here. Let's bring the number over to the right hand side, so I end up here on the left hand side with 8x plus 3y. Bring this 19 over here, or subtract 19 from both sides, that will give me minus 16. Okay, perfect. Now this is my second equation here. This is equation number 2. So now I have both equations. They were complicated looking equations. I've simplified both equations. So let me just take this equation 1, this equation 2. Let me just write equation 2 over here. I'll just bring that over here. So I get 8x. I'll put the x underneath the x. I'll put the y underneath the y, and the number underneath the number here. So this here is equation 2. Okay, so that's perfect. Now let's have a look at these two equations. I need to look at the x's and the y's, and I need to decide which one I'd like to cancel, get rid of, so that I'm left with the other unknown. So I need to make an equation with just one unknown. So I'm going to, I can do either one, but I think I'll try and cancel these y's here, simply because I already have two different signs, which is what I'm looking for. I have a plus here and a minus here. so I don't have to worry about changing the signs. So I'm looking for a different sign. That's perfect. Now what I need to do here is make these two numbers the same number. So I think if I multiply this 2 by 3, I'll get 6. If I multiply this 3 by 2, I'll get 6. So I'm going to change both of these numbers to 6. So how am I going to do that? Well, if I do that, I'm going to need to multiply equation 1 by 3. If I multiply 2 by 3, I'll get 6. So I'm going to multiply equation 1 by 3. What will that do for me? Let's see. I must multiply each term by 3 to keep the equation the same. So 3 times 3 is 9x. 3 times 2, 6y. 3 times 6, that's 3 times 6. 3 sixes, 18. So that's equation 1, each term multiplied by 3. Let's take equation 2 now. Now remember, I'm trying to cancel the y here, so I need a 6 here as well. I need to change this from plus 3 to plus 6, so all I've got to do is double it. So this time I'm going to multiply equation 2 by 2. So if I multiply equation 2 by 2, what do I get? Well, 2 8s, 16. 2 3s, 6. Perfect, I got a plus 6y and a minus 6y. That's exactly what I want. Multiply the 16 then by 2, minus 16 by 2 rather, that gives me minus 32. Okay, so now I'm going to put a line under these two equations. Just these two equations I'm dealing with now. So I'm just going to add the x's to the x's, add the y's to the y's, add the numbers to the numbers. What will that give me? Well, here I'll end up with 16x plus 9x. That gives me 25x. Here now I've got a plus 6y minus 6y. That's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. I will get 0 here. I won't write it in here. No need to write in the 0. So on the right hand side then I end up with minus 18 minus 32. That gives me minus 50. So look what I've ended up with here. 25x is equal to minus 50. Divide both sides by 25. That gives me minus 2. So I now know that x is minus 2. X is minus 2. So now I got to work out what y is. Okay, so let's pick an equation. Let's see, I have equation 1 here, I have equation 2. I can use either one. I'm just going to pick equation 1 here. So that's 3x minus 2y is equal to minus 6. This is equation number 1. Okay, so now I know what x is. X is minus 2. So instead of x here, I'm going to put in minus 2. Minus 2y is equal to minus 6. Okay, multiply this out. 3 times minus 2, minus 6. Minus 2y is equal to minus 6. Okay, let's continue on here. Now we've got a minus 6 on this side, so I need to add a 6 to this side to get rid of it. So add a 6 to the right hand side. So I'm left with minus 2y here, and I'm left with minus 6 plus 6. That gives me minus 2y is equal to 0. Okay, so here then I end up with minus 2y is equal to 0. So to get rid of this minus 2y, the minus 2y is multiplied by the y here, so I got to divide by minus 2. Divide this side by minus 2, I'm just left with y. Divide this side by minus 2, 0 over minus 2 is just going to be 0. 0 divided by anything is just 0. So y here is going to be 0. So my x here is minus 2, and the y here is 0. And that's it. That's my solution. So in other words, the two lines will intersect. Just move that up here a bit. So the two lines here will intersect at a point minus 2, 0. And that's it.